Rolling with the homies. Wait, have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Do you know what I'm referencing?
Mm-mm.
Clueless. You have to see it.
I've never seen
It's like
that.
an American classic.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any shows from the Ukraine that are like classic that you think I should see?
I don't really think we have a classic shows because I feel like our strategy is just to take a show from like America or like, like
Copy,
UK
paste.
and just copy that. So I guess all that we have, you have the same, but the original version.
Same, but different.
Yeah.
I get it. Well, I obviously need to introduce you because none of my guests have ever met you before. I mean, maybe they have on my Instagram, but do you want to shout out your Instagram?
I guess.
Only if you want.
So it's actually, I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's SHPACHIC.
Write it down. And Nataliia and I met when we did a yoga teacher training program at Y7 Studio in New York City. Wait, did you know it's actually like Forbes #1 yoga teacher training program?
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that. I signed up the day before.
Yeah, I think you told me that.
When did you sign up?
It kind of was also my like last minute decision, but I knew they really good because like I was going in, a new sphere in my life that I wanted to work for like the next couple of years. So I was really like mindful about it. And I was researching. I was like, what's the best like yoga teaching program? And I found this place and I really like the teachers there and kind of atmosphere. It was really nice. And that's how I decided in Y7.
It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And Nataliia and I were, how did we pronounce it in Sabiasa? Remember the name of having like, your practice partner in what's like the language that we use in yoga?
The Sanskrit.
Yeah, in Sanskrit.
Yeah. But I don't know how to pronounce that.
I think it's like Sabiasa. Amanda or Darby or Casey, please comment down below. Or just DM us and tell us. We can just look up the phonetic spelling, actually. It's on us. The monkey's on our back.
We were partners.
Yeah, we were partners. But like, I was just super seriously depressed. That's why I did it. Because I quit my corporate job. I had like no idea what to do with my time. And my parents were like, you're not just going to sit at home and like be depressed. You have to do something or it's just going to get worse. So I was home and I was supposed to go back. I don't know if I told you this story.
Sorry.
About like kind of why I signed up.
You said that you just want to like kind of change your also industry where you work.
Yeah, I wanted to leave corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to stop being depressed, which I wasn't just depressed because of my corporate job. I was depressed because I was prescribed Lexapro, which, I mean, you listen to Huberman Lab, right?
Yeah, I do. It's my favorite.
Yeah, we both love Huberman Lab and Lex Friedman podcast. And, well, you tell them what we were discussing at breakfast, if you want.
About, like, so we were discussing that it's actually ridiculous that all the studies that, like, connected to, health and wellness, they were done on men, not on women, because I don't know why exactly. Maybe it takes more resources and, funds, but I think it's so unfair because apparently the last one that I saw, it was fasting studies.
Fasting, yeah.
Yeah, and they said that apparently for women, it's not that good. Like, you're not supposed to fast because we have different, hormones and they respond differently to different factors.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for like a long time and I was so frustrated. Fasting? Yeah.
Were you doing intermittent fasting?
Yeah.
I've done it.
I'd done like 4 days fasting. I did like
4 days?
Yeah. It was hard though, but like like I thought it's worth it, but then, after you fast, I didn't like my state after that because you feel like you have too much cortisol in your system and you feel like stressed all the time. So I'm not really sure if I did a good thing because my like initial thought was just like detoxification, but I don't really know if it's that helps at all.
How did you feel? Well, let me ask you, why did you fast for 4 days?
Because I had skin problem.
Like hormonal acne?
I think so.
Where was it on your face?
It was just like here.
Jawline.
Yeah.
That's hormonal.
Yeah.
Did you know that I worked at a naturopathic medical clinic?
No.
In San Diego?
Mm-mm.
So I did, and I had very severe hormonal acne, but I ran my labs through like Quest or some lab, and they did a full blood panel. And however, the doctor that I was working with told me that because I was on birth control, it's impossible to balance your hormones to a natural level when you're on birth control because you're taking something to adjust it, which is really intuitive, but I don't think it's explained to people in a way that is intuitive or that can make sense to someone who maybe doesn't have, they don't have the medical knowledge. So I was like, okay, we're doing all these labs. And then I got on all these supplements. I was paying $250 a month for all these supplements. And that was at a discounted rate from this clinic. And it was like a bougie clinic. Like it was like an IV lounge for basically bachelor people to go get IVs when they're hungover. And then on the side, they were doing very serious work. There were two types of patients: optimization patients, and then actually patients who like needed a real care team to like fight cancer or to try and get rid of herpes. So they were treating real illnesses there, as well as patients who wanted to optimize just for more well-being, like preventative medicine, I would say. And so I was taking all these supplements, not seeing a change. And in tandem, I was getting IVs for free because we were allowed like one free IV a month. And in my blood panel, it showed that I had low iron. But the doctor said that if I took like one iron IV, my levels would get back to normal for like a month. And so they did. But what happened was the hangover IV, which has a lot of B vitamins, for energy, that triggered hormonal acne because too many B vitamins can trigger hormonal acne in my experience. I think it's true for most women, I think. I mean, you can fact check me, but it was my experience. And so I was paying all this money to have the worst skin of my life. And then I ended up having to go to another esthetician to do skin peeling, which was so painful and horrible, like literally deep peeling, which like, I don't even know is legal. It's not legal in Illinois. Like I went to an esthetician in Illinois. He was telling me that the level of peeling that I was getting was not legal in Illinois because it was so intense. Wow. But it did clear my skin, but it was horrible. Like I didn't even want to go on a Zoom call when I was at my corporate job. Chloe actually knows this, Connor, because I was working. It was like my first year at Tropic at my job. My friend Chloe, who has a podcast called Not Safe for Work with an E, she and I were on a Zoom and I was like, I'm going camera off because my skin is flaking off. And she was like, oh, me too, girl. She's like, I have XYZ going on. Camera off. But it was horrible. And it was so expensive. And then I found a supplement that worked for me that changed my skin.
What's that?
Clear Stem. Have you heard of it?
No.
I mean, your skin is like flawless, so you don't even need it.
That's just the makeup because like I never had any problems with my skin, but since like I moved here in the United States, I feel like the food is very different and like the gluten is very different. And I'm trying to stay like really strict on a strict diet with my like with what I eat, and still I have like sometimes rush, or that's why like I'm going to do this extreme fasting diets. And
let's go back to that because I totally went off on a tangent.
That's how I just decided to do it. Because
when you came to America,
yeah,
how old were you when you moved here? You moved here from the Ukraine, right?
No, I moved here from Switzerland.
Oh, right. I forgot. You were in Switzerland before. Yeah. I love Switzerland.
Yeah, I love it too.
Where were you in Switzerland?
It's like a small town, French town, right near
Enchanté.
I didn't speak really good.
We need Kath on. I've been texting her.
So it was like really small town in French part of Switzerland, which I really love. But it's more for, like old people, like retired old people, which I really love. But
I love it.
I feel like in my 20s, I need to be somewhere where it's more energy and it's like more of a flow.
I'm honestly sick of it. I am. Like, I think I want to be in a city, and then I'm like here and I'm like, oh, I'm tired.
Yeah, that's why I live in Connecticut.
Dude, Connecticut seems nice. Like, do you love it there? Do you like it?
I really love it because we have like the really good infrastructure and we have all the like things that you can have in New York, but it's more like peaceful and quiet. So you have like really nice areas there and you can take a walk near the ocean and then you can go to Sweet Greens and
we can go to Sweet Green. Maybe have a cigarette.
To keep a balance.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I feel like it's really good balance between like peace and quiet and, the energy of New York.
The energy of New York, transparently, is disgusting. It's just too much. It's not good enough. It's just not. I was talking about this on my TikTok. I was like, which, by the way, like, be warned, if you watch me on TikTok, it's like the most unhinged version of myself, which you might enjoy if you're enjoying this. I just feel like Manhattan was obviously made to work because that's why there's so many tall buildings, corporate offices, and apartment complexes. But now that everyone's like remote, most people, there's like nothing there. It's like, okay, when I lived there, I lived across from a Cava and the old Credit Suisse. And now it's like a UBS. I'm like, I don't want to walk out and see an overpriced place to get a bowl that's been sitting in some metal tin for 5 hours and then a bank. Like, that doesn't spark joy for me, Yeah. It's gross. And then Madison Square Park, it's not even a real park. There's like, it's disgusting. There's a Shake Shack in it. I've never been to a real park that has a Shake Shack in it. That's that small. It takes up like 1/16 of the park or maybe like 1/8 of it. Mm-hmm. You know what park I love?
Which?
Vondel Park in Amsterdam. Have you been?
Mm-hmm. I've been to Amsterdam, but I've never been at this park.
So it's near this place called When Nature Calls. I highly recommend if you're in Amsterdam. You go there and then you can go to Vondel Park. Mm-hmm. It's like a little cafe.
I actually love the atmosphere there. I feel like they have really good balance between like work and life. People are so friendly and joyful. It's really nice.
What's your favorite European city, if you had to pick?
It's a good question. I would definitely say, okay, I'm biased. I really love Switzerland. I love like everything about it. I feel like for life or like comfortable living in Geneva, it has everything, but like you need to be like done with your life, just to come there and like enjoy.
What do you mean done with your life?
I mean, like when I was there, I still didn't go too far in my career. So I was like, I needed that to like complete my like goals inside my head. So that's why I was like, I can settle here because like I need to move. I need to do things. Like I just can't feel peaceful here because, I have different priorities. And like it's such a nice place to be when like you have everything and you just live there.
I'm like about to fall asleep because I'm so relaxed. This was the thing about having Nataliia in our yoga teacher training program is every time she would talk, the whole room would just kind of like your shoulders would drop and you're just like, word. Like exactly what she said. I agree with everything she said. I just like, I don't even know why I live in America. I always say I want to move to Copenhagen. Well, I do know why I live here. It's because my family and a lot of my very close friends are here. But if I could take Copenhagen and just drop it in America, I would move there. You know what I've heard is nice and I've never been? Cape Cod.
Cape Cod.
Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Emma Pritchard lives there. And Maggie McDonald. Do you know them? Have you heard of them?
No.
They're like two of my favorite content creators. I've been following them for years. And her name was Emma McDonald before she married Peyton Pritchard, who plays for the Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
And they got married and they like got a house on Cape Cod, which is where Emma and Maggie grew up. They're sisters. They're actually two of the people that inspired me to start doing content creation, because I've just been watching their YouTube forever. And it was so cool to see their career trajectory from like working at like, just like working a minimum wage job, I'm pretty sure, in Boston in like high school. And then going from that to completely being self-employed and living a life that really seemed to align with their own values and having like a lot of financial freedom to just do what makes them happy.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you really need to enjoy that, like to create something, you know, like content, because it's not for everybody. Like you're supposed to like feel good when you do that. Because I'm like super sensitive person, you know, like I don't see myself doing this like as my full-time job, because I'm just too sensitive. Like, you know, I would like see one haters come in and I'm like, I would be crying in my bed for like 2 days.
No, I'll kill them for you. That's not happening, Nataliia.
Yeah, that's why I need a partner.
Sure. Come on. I'll be here. I literally need one. No, like literally. One of my friend was actually supposed to be my PIC, my partner in crime, and she couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
She said no. I was like, okay, I'll do it myself. Here we are. Like literally come on whenever.
Mm-hmm.
We could do Zoom. I mean, like I'm in New York. I live an hour and a half flight away.
Mm-hmm.
Southwest, sponsor us. Looking to get a PJ soon. You know, maybe Kim Air will sponsor us. Kim
I hope so.
Private jet. Like literally, Kim, please help. You know, we were talking about this on the walk over from the cafe. I really love Kim Kardashian. No one could ever make me hate her. I love this quote she has where she says, she got a lot of backlash for this, but I'm like, she's just being real. She's like, it seems like, and I'll quote it. She goes, I have the best advice for women in business. Get your fucking ass up and work. It seems like nobody wants to work these days. And I have this friend in Chicago, Alex. She's a real estate agent and a therapist, like such a funny combo. And every morning we'll call or text each other like very frequently and be like, I'll call her and she'll be still sleeping because she's like kind of a night owl and I'm a morning person. I'm like, get your fucking ass up and work. Sometimes she takes me to Soho House in Chicago because she has a membership, and we'll just go on the roof. And like one time in the summer, I brought my business cards that I made on Canva for like $20. I made 100 of them. And everyone's like, oh wow, these are so profesh. And I'm like, literally it was a templated design on Canva that I just copy pasted, but it reminded me of the Vogue font. So I just used that and I was like, oh, that aligns because I love fashion, obviously, Target. And I was just like, we made this funny TikTok where I was just throwing my business cards like this at Soho House.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
It was like, we biked to Soho House so we can afford the drinks and the food.
That's smart.
We biked there because it's like a straight shot. I love biking. I discovered my love for biking in Copenhagen, actually. Rediscovered it. Have you been?
No, never been. But I feel like they kind of similar with Amsterdam and all this like Norwegian area. They have like kind of same vibe.
Totally.
And I really love like their lifestyle that they bike in everywhere. They have a more like healthy lifestyle. They love fashion, which is good.
Do you follow Romy Stride?
No.
It's like, I don't know, maybe Strigid. Romee, last name Strijd. Her and her husband, Lawrence Van Leeuwen, I've been following them for years. They live in, where do they live? I think they live in like Amsterdam, but like in the countryside. And she actually, similar to you, came to America to model.
Mhm.
So is that why you came to America?
Not exactly. It was just the opportunity that I had here, just like through my friends and like people who I met here.
Yeah.
It
And you
was
moved here with
just-
your kids.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have 2 kids.
Yes, she has 2 kids. Oh my gosh. Sophia and Simon.
Simon, yeah.
Simon
correct.
Says. Do you guys play that?
Yeah, we do.
I remember like just seeing them like crawling, like hanging out in the background of like the Zoom when we were doing the yoga teacher training program. And I was like, oh my God, like I want to meet them. I was like so curious. I could have just asked. I didn't want to be creepy. Like, where are your children?
That was so funny because we were doing Zoom and Sophia in the background, she was like sneaking out to get some cookies and milk. And she was like going like that.
That is so cute.
Like one time, she literally she was like crawling on her like knees because she thought this way nobody would see her.
I mean, I would have loved if she popped in. She would have really lightened up the mood. At times, the yoga can be serious. I'll just
Yeah.
say that. It was deep because I feel like
Mhm.
a lot of people who were in the program were going through something.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had this thing called satsang, which is where for like the last, was it 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think 5 or 10 minutes.
Depending on how emotional
Yeah.
everyone was feeling that day. For the last like bit of class, they would be like, hey, we're going to do a satsang, which is where everyone just sits in silence and you can just say something that's on your mind. And there's kind of rules for it. And the rules, the like guidelines and parameters in place were that you're not to respond to anyone's comment. So that it's like a safe space where you can just kind of say what's on your mind without anyone feeling the need to respond or you feeling like someone needs to respond to it. And it was a very powerful tool, I found.
Mhm.
I said something in the last session that I think shocked everyone.
Yeah.
Genuinely. It was very sad because I was super depressed and I was just like, honestly, fuck it. These people literally, I felt like you guys didn't know me. Like I honestly felt like no one there knew me because I was just so quiet the whole time, which is like clearly not my personality.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I was so quiet was because I was on fucking Lexapro, which does not work for me. Or I don't know if it works for most women, but like we were talking about, it's not tested on women. And sure, there's probably talks that it will be, but like literally when? Like when? Because it was too much. It made me suicidal, like literally.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, oh, it made you suicidal. Oh, let's switch you to this. And I was like, I don't want any more trial and error. Like I literally have been an extremely happy, bubbly person my entire life. And you gave me a pill that made me want to die. Like, no, thank you. Like, I'm not going to keep like playing this game of, I'm not like a rat in the lab. Like, are you kidding me? Like no animal testing. How about no human testing? Like, I don't know if Glossier tests on animals, but you can test on me all you want. Literally. Love it.
But I agree that it was so powerful and I really loved it. It's kind of like Shavasana after, like each like yoga workout, you have the Shavasana where you just kind of relaxing and, connecting with yourself. It was so powerful. But it was hard not to respond because, as I said, I'm like very sensitive and like I have like empathy for everybody. And I'm like listening to that. I'm like, oh, I want to respond. I want to, like
support them.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, like, at least something. It was hard for me to just like keep the space just like empty.
Me too. But we did respond.
Yeah, sometimes when it
We
was like,
our group totally broke the fucking rules. We're like, huh? What? I cannot just sit here in silence after someone just said something so shocking and so sad. Like literally.
Yeah.
But it was funny because in the last satsang after we graduated, remember Casey gave us her number?
Yeah.
She's dope. She was like, okay, we normally don't do this, but like, here's my phone number, guys. Because like, if you could imagine, you're doing a yoga teacher training program like every year, and you're like, I mean, multiple times a year. Do they do it? Like, have they been doing it for like years, right?
I think like it twice a year.
Twice a year.
Summer and winter group.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't.
No, you're
know.
right. They have 2 groups, and I mean, it's kind of like, okay, when I worked in corporate America, I was a people manager. I managed like 10 people. And like, it's basically just being a therapist. Like, if we're being real, it's like, hi, how are you doing today? Oh, bad. Oh, I'm sorry. Work does suck. Make more cold calls. Like, that's why I left. I was like, I just can't do this shit anymore. It's awful. But I feel like being a yoga teacher is sort of like being a therapist, because you're just there to support people on whatever journey it is that they're on, mentally, physically, emotionally. And it really is your job to guide and just listen. I think that's why, because I obviously did research. Like, I say I just fell into the number one, like rated by Forbes yoga teacher training program. But like, there's a reason I picked it. It's because there were very good reviews of it. And I see why, because it was extremely, we are trained in trauma-informed and what else? Trauma-informed yoga, basically.
Yeah.
That was the focus of it. And they had a big emphasis on inclusivity. Before we started our first class, they went around and asked us to name like the native land that we were on. And nobody knew, but they were like, it's fine, just Google it. I mean, I didn't know. Did you?
No, I was shocked. I didn't know what to say. And I'm like, oh.
I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I'm that bitch. I'm like that white girl, like, oh, Jesus Christ.
But it felt at one point, it felt like a group therapy. I felt it so powerful. Then I remember talking to my therapist at the time. Also was like a little bit down, like emotionally at that moment. But I was talking to my therapist and he was like, what are you doing like to support your mental state? And the first thing that I said, it's my yoga training, because it felt like it. It just felt like you have a group of people who are similar minded to you, and it was just like really powerful. The community is there, and you feel like you can do everything when you have people who support you.
Period. No, literally, period. Like, that was like felt like the only thing I had to cling to during that time. And I almost felt embarrassed because like sometimes I would go back to my apartment and feel like I wasn't doing enough that day, but I was like, you know what? It is enough. Like, it is good enough to just go to 3 hours of yoga teacher training and then read and like relax and have dinner. Like, that is enough. You don't have to like go to an office for 8 hours and then wake up at 5:30 a.m. I mean, that was my life in Manhattan. I went to the Equinox next to my building because I lived right next to it on 24th and Park. And I would like jump out of bed, throw on clothes, walk like 20 feet to the Equinox on 24th in like Gramercy Edge, and go do a workout class, which was my favorite part of the day. I love getting up early to work out. Like, let me not mince words. That was amazing. But then I would like go back, shower at Equinox, get changed, go to the office, be there at like 7:30 or 8 because I love being the first in because I'm like, I just don't want to see anybody. And then the only person that would be there that early as me was always our co-founder, Justin, who slays. I'm like, I see you out here grinding. But then I would be there, and then I would feel guilty about leaving early because people who showed up later would leave later. And then I was like, oh, for no reason I would stay when I could just leave. Like, no one would have said anything, but I feel like I put more pressure on myself than anyone could ever put on me.
That's the hardest. I feel like you can be so hard on yourself, and you always, do you have this when you fear something, but then you realize it's only you? Like, you fear yourself.
That's very insightful.
Because you're sometimes really hard on yourself, and you don't really have people around you who are that hard on you. I feel like the worst person to yourself, it's only you.
I definitely am my worst critic.
You
sound like my fucking therapist, Nataliia.
Familiar.
You know when someone goes, it's like, fuck, you're right. I mean, I studied communication at San Diego State. That was my degree. I also took business and economics classes, but I graduated with a degree in communication. And one stat that really stood out to me is that 90% of communication is nonverbal, which I find that in like European countries tends to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel as though the reason I'm able to connect with people from other countries, like you're from the Ukraine, Kath is from Canada, but she speaks French. Like, I can speak Spanish. I think it really is one, confidence in knowing that just because you're not quote unquote fluent doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. I think that's a big problem in America, as people think, oh, if I can't take an AP Spanish test and get a 5 on it, then it's not worth it. And it's like, no, people will understand you. All you have to do is try. Like, I mean, Connor heard me trying to speak Spanish to the pizza person last night. Connor, are you there? Are you live?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were communicating.
Exactly. I was communicating. And it's like, you just have to try. Like, just get off Duolingo and just go talk to some people and just be like, hey, like, do you speak Spanish? Oh, ¿hablas español? Sí, hablo un poquito. Sí, like, ¿entiendes? ¿Hablas español? No entiendo.
No,
okay.
Not at all.
Está bien. Anyways, back to English. But I don't know.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that's actually so true because, you know, I learned like English. Obviously, I was learning it at school. And then in my college, I wasn't even learning that. But then I had...
Wait, can you say that again?
I
was distracted. Sorry.
About the languages. So it was one of my biggest fear, like, of just talk in English, because like I knew the grammar inside my head so well, but like I was just scared to like cross this line to talk to somebody, and I was not like always that good as I'm now, because it took like a long time. And my boyfriend at the time, he was an American, and I was so like
I'm sorry about
scared.
that.
Yeah, it was really bad, by the way. But I was scared even to talk to him. And I remember our first date when like I realized that I have to talk like the whole date in English. I was shaking inside my head. I was like, oh my God, like, did I do like a mistake in you know, like grammar or like something like that? But it took me probably 4 years just to like fully overcome this fear of, you know, being hurt. And
well, you know what they say, practice makes perfect.
I agree.
And 4 years isn't even that much time to learn a language and be like so well spoken. Like, that's how long people go to college, and you come out knowing hopefully something, but maybe nothing. Depends on how you chose to spend your time.
It's actually like, I feel like my knowledges are all just based on my anxiety and my fears, which you know, sometimes it's a good thing when you feel fear or anxiety. It gives you power to change it. Like, if you face it and like, yeah, you know, I have this fear, so I can face it, or I can just like hide it and do nothing, which is not going to do anything good for you. So that's kind of all achievements personally for me are coming from either fear or anxiety.
Yeah, it's almost like this fucking Band-Aid. It's almost like insecurity breeds curiosity, which might breed knowledge. You know, it's like, if I feel insecure about not knowing about, like, okay, we have this book here that we picked up off the street in Bushwick. If I feel insecure about not knowing about, like, we were talking about women's hormones and women's health, and is my acne hormonal, or like, what the fuck is going on? Like, okay, that's a start. But instead of just going and like trusting some random ass doctor who doesn't know shit, just pick up a book and read. Like, literally, there's no way that a male doctor is going to be able to understand what you're going through. Okay, literally opened it up. How do cycles and symptoms tell us so much? Do you remember in the beginning of the book, I told you it's all connected? Here, I'm going to read a passage and I'm going to get your thoughts. So this book is called Hormone Intelligence, The Complete Guide to Calming Hormone Chaos and Restoring Your Body's Natural Blueprint for Well-Being. I'm definitely keeping this. Okay, so this one is page 84. There's actually some annotations here. Subheader, how do cycles and symptoms tell us so much? Okay, so do you remember in the beginning of the book, I told you it's all connected? It is, which is why our hormones tell us so much about our health and environment. Like that orchestra I talked about in chapter 2, when the conductor isn't properly leading the symphony, when one instrument is out of tune, or one musician is off tempo. Beautiful music can quickly become discordant noise. Is that how you pronounce discordant noise? What do you think about that?
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's so true for us. Because I feel like stress really influences us so much, especially, like women's health.
Yes.
It's like when you're stressed and like everything just goes wrong. One thing after another.
Do you think that like women have more stress than men as a whole in America?
I think so, because I feel like for women, it's not even natural to be stressed, because we're also talking about that for men to, in order to achieve something, they're supposed to be like, competitive and stressed, and like it's kind of their drive. When for us, it works the opposite way. We are better doing when we just relaxed. We're not designed to be stressed all the time, which we are forced to. You know what I mean? Like everything is so stressful these days, like literally anything, like work, if like depends where you work, but like for women, I don't think it's even natural to be stressed all the time.
I don't either.
It's not good.
I want to take a nap. No, like it's actually crazy because when you like slow down your nervous system, you can really feel how stressed you are.
Mm-hmm. A minute of meditation.
Yeah.
What do you think about meditation?
Love it.
Do you
Can't live
practice a
without
lot?
it. Not enough. I need to.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I actually do when I'm home in Chicago, but I find when I'm traveling, it's hard for me to like unwind.
That's really common.
Especially traveling alone sucks. It's just like hotels. It's just like, it's boring as hell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a fuck about being in a nice hotel if I don't have like anyone to share it with. Like, it's boring. Like, it would be great to have someone to travel with, like a friend or, anybody, really, literally anybody, anyone normal and nice. But like, I can keep myself entertained. That doesn't mean I want to,
Mm-hmm.
Like I find when I'm alone, I'm just trying to fill my time, like doing stuff, but it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And like, maybe I just need to start traveling with my yoga mat. No, that's ridiculous. I find ways, like when I was staying in Williamsburg, the first half of this trip, I just went to the park. There's a million parks in Williamsburg. I went to some park and I was actually doing yoga for like an hour and a half, and I was on FaceTime with my friend Alex, and she was taking screenshots because I was trying to do a headstand. Well, I wasn't trying. I was doing a headstand. And one moment. Do.
With like full handstand?
A headstand.
Like, oh wow.
Just on my head.
Mm-hmm.
It probably is dumb. I was doing handstands too.
Mm-hmm.
Cartwheels. Because I used to be a gymnast when I was younger. Okay, I'm getting distracted by all these.
Well, that makes sense because I feel like when I'm trying to do a headstand, I feel like I'm just gonna like go down and break my neck. I'm like, no.
I remember doing it in the studio. Where was it? The East Village?
Yeah.
That was fun though. I really enjoyed. I remember one class, we were like, we were doing inversions of some sort.
Mhm.
And we also, it was when we did, remember we, like one of the first classes, we did like an hour and a half flow with Amanda
Mm-hmm.
with all the lights off.
Yeah.
I was crying that whole time.
Mm.
And I remember after it, I told my friend, I was like, she's like, how was it? And I was like, oh, I was like crying the entire time. And she's like, it's good to cry. And I was like, that's not the response that I needed. You know? Like, yes, it is good to feel your emotions, but it's not normal or natural or healthy to feel like you're not in control of your emotions
Mm-hmm.
to a point of mental and emotional exhaustion.
Yeah. I know that's really true. Like you have like when you feel like you're at the edge of this like emotional control, I feel like that's the point where you have to go like to therapist and just
It's
You
a
know?
breaking point. I literally went everywhere. I went to a therapist, a psychiatrist in New York who didn't do shit, prescribed me medication that made me suicidal. And then I went to an intensive outpatient program. It's called an IOP clinic, completely voluntarily. Like no one made me go. I was just like, I was doing it while I was finishing up the yoga teacher training program. So while I was doing the 200-hour yoga teacher training, I also was at this place called Skyway Behavioral Health in Skokie, Illinois, which is like an hour outside of, maybe more. My parents live like 45 minutes from downtown Chicago. And this place is like an hour from my hometown. So I would get up every morning for like 3 weeks. I think my mom drove me like the first time, and my dad also drove me like during the first week. And then I drove myself an hour there and back from like, I think it was like 7 or 8 hours. It was like basically like a school day. And you would like, there were 2 programs. There was one that included people with eating disorders, and there was one that just included people like with anxiety and depression. But the tracks were like combined. So we had to be very mindful about speaking about like anything that could be triggering to someone with an eating disorder,
Mm-hmm.
which I understand because I had an eating disorder in college. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone
me
in my
too.
fucking college did. If you didn't, like literally how? Please tell us. Because I went to San Diego State, which is just, everyone's just in a bikini all the time. And so it's just really hard to not compare yourself to the girl that's like, looks like a Victoria's Secret angel. She might be now, like literally. But that's not her fault. It's like, it was my own fault for putting that pressure on myself that I thought I needed to look a certain way. I recorded an episode during this trip talking about how I got kicked out of my sorority. And it was just the most toxic thing ever.
Did it feel like it got worse after that?
No, it got better
Oh,
when I left.
that's interesting because I've heard that like usually stress really triggers that. And it was like, in my case, it was that like I'm doing fine, but when I have too much stress, it's like it just coming on top of that. And it's like very hard to control.
I think it was 2 things. It was comparison and stress. There's an
Mhm.
Olivia Rodrigo song. It's like, comparison is killing me slowly. I really relate to that song, but I actually don't anymore. But like I don't relate to that song, but there's a younger part of me that relates to it. And I'm like, it's okay. You know,
Mhm.
It's okay, girl. We're moved on. It's all good. But I really am enjoying this conversation because I'm sure there are like thousands or hundreds, hopefully not thousands, but like there's probably some girls and young women out there who are thinking about going to college and rushing a sorority and maybe feeling pressured to look a certain way. And it's like, fuck all that noise, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need like healthy ones, you know?
We need healthy women because we are the way that the world keeps moving by having more children. Melissa Wood Health had someone on her podcast, some guy, I don't know what he does, or who he is, but it was a very powerful statement where he was like, women should be running the world because they are the ones that create life in their bodies.
And we were suppressed for longest times.
We
so
still are. Many.
I think so. That's why
We've made a lot of
have-
progress, but it's not good enough.
It's not good enough.
Hashtag not good enough. Hashtag good enough.
I feel like that makes sense because I feel when, we have so much power now and so much knowledge is just because we were suppressed for such a long time. And
we're like starving for knowledge, like literally. I feel like I can't get enough. Lex Friedman, like I love it.
I love it
because it's so
too.
informative. I love Alex Cooper. Obsessed. She was like my biggest inspiration in starting a podcast. Call Her Daddy. Shout out to the Daddy Gang. Like, have you listened?
I think a few times.
I love her. She's really evolved since her first iteration of the podcast, where she had a partner and they don't work together anymore. But I love who she is and what she stands for. And I think she also just is very carefree, which I think is why people can relate to her, because she doesn't seem to give a fuck what people think about her in a good way.
She doesn't have filters too much. That's a good thing, because I feel like it's so like popular to be just pretentious or like to try to look certain way, and like we really have not so many like really true people who has this authentic self.
Yeah. My friend's a photographer who helped me do a photo shoot. We're good friends, but he did say one thing that bothers me, and he won't mind, but he was like, what do you want to portray in these images? And I was like, authentic. And he was like, don't use that word. Like, it's so like, it just gets thrown around a lot. And I'm like, there's a reason it does. There is a reason why women want to appear authentic and smart, because we've been suppressed for so long. So I think it's a fine word to use.
We had and we still haven't so many limits, how you should look, how you should eat, what you're supposed to do, but it's so outdated. And I'm actually so happy that now I feel like everything is changing so fast.
Agreed.
And even comparing to 10 years before, like that day, it was so different. And it really makes me just happy.
Same. There's nothing better than just seeing a confident woman striding down the streets in New York. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Yes, queen.
I'm like, go off. Like, literally go off. And I love New York because I have a love-hate relationship with this fucking place, because there are parts of it that remind me of the worst time of my life. And then there are also parts of it where I'm like, this is why New York is New York. And it's because people come here to change their lives. Do you agree?
Yeah, I actually do. That's why I love this place. And I feel like people are so different, and they came like from all over the world. And it's such a unique place because you can find really different people with different backgrounds at the same place, like anywhere else in the world. Maybe I might be wrong, but I feel
You're
like
not.
New York and like this part of United States are very unique in this way.
You're so right about that. 100%. Because Kamala Harris said this, who I am voting for, and you should be too. She said that she was quoting someone, but the sentiment is that our differences are what bring us closer together. They don't tear us apart. If you can be open to that. But if you fear differences, then you will be the one outcasted in society, because the world is changing. So you better keep up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really smart.
We're so smart. LOL. Wait, we're almost at time, but there is one more thing I wanted to talk about that we discussed on our little walk over, if you still want to talk about it. Okay, so do you want to talk about your experience modeling in New York?
Yeah, it's not like exactly modeling, because I was like getting on this path. And I had
trying to model.
Yeah. So I had like a few offers from different places, but I decided not to continue this path because I just realized how dangerous it could be for women and, like girls, mostly girls, because in modeling, there are a lot of naive girls like at a very young age, which are really easily to manipulate.
Young girls with no guidance who aren't aware of people who have disgusting intentions, and it's not their fault. But continue.
So that what I would say was the main reason why I stopped, because it's just a really tough industry, I feel like, for girls and for women. And I just didn't have the best experience, because sometimes you feel like you are forced or like assumed to pay the price that you're not willing to pay, if I could say that. You pay with like your own sense of self, if it makes sense. And sometimes like the people who are trying to get you into the industry are also not the best people
They
with
suck.
best intentions.
They're losers and they suck. So fuck them.
Yeah, that's polite version. That's like unfiltered version.
No, like literally kill all men. That's what my little sister says, Lily. She's like, Cam, kill all men.
Yeah.
You know who you are.
And men could be really dangerous in this industry
That's disgusting.
with not the best intentions towards you.
Yes.
That's what I experienced.
I've heard very similar stories from people, Nataliia. Like, it's so common, but people do talk about it, but not enough.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed there's a lot of people in my orbit where I try to bring up subjects like this. Subjects like, I'll just rattle off a few that I find people get. And thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
You're so brat for that. So there's like a few topics I could rattle off and then let's wrap up. You down?
Mm-hmm.
Are you down to like be done soon? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, just like a little American lingo for you. It's like Southern California lingo. I'm a bi-coastal bitch. So rape in college is something that I've tried to broach with some people I know, and they get very uncomfortable. So that's a problem. Like eating disorders in college, sororities and how fucked up they are. The food in America that fucking sucks. Chemicals, forever chemicals in Lake Michigan. Tampons, toxic socks, like tampons that are not organic, toxic shock syndrome, exhaustion, birth control and what it's doing to our bodies. I mean, I have a copper IUD, so my life changed, honestly, for the better after I got off of birth control pills that were just fucking my shit up. I can go on and on. There'll be more episodes about those topics. Just DM me and comment which topics you want me to talk more about.
Yeah.
Period. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
You are?
Yeah.
Good.
It was really exciting.
So exciting. I'm definitely gonna put this episode out first because like I think we covered the most important topics I've discussed in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah, I agree. We are good enough.
We are good enough. I love you.
Love
and this
you
would be a good
too.
episode.